What's up with y'all, man? It's T-RaeTv. Over the last few weeks, I've been dropping a lot of YNW Melly content on my page. So much to the point where I just created a playlist. Y'all can check that out. I got a whole playlist where it's over 20 some videos where I'm just talking about things that stood out to me, things that I felt were chaotic. From the interviews, things that were covered on Law and Crime, people who were cross-examined on the stand, Adrian Davis, Felicia Holmes, Mariah Hamilton, her Law and Crime interview, just a whole bunch of stuff that just stood out to me. And over 2 weeks ago, the state decided that they were just gonna do away with the witness tampering case. That they just dropped it completely. And when that happened, it sent the internet in a frenzy because this literally happened like one day before Melly was about to go to trial, before he was set to go to trial. And you started seeing people, making videos saying that this was a huge win for Melly. Others started saying that, the state was starting to fold, that the case looked at weak. And you start seeing people immediately jump back on the Free Melly wave, where you start seeing the hashtag float around, just Free Melly. Again, I talked about that in my last video. But me, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see this as it was a win. I didn't see this, as a loss for the state, as the case was weak. I didn't see none of these things because when Alexander Buckaloo, the prosecutor on this case, released a 5-page statement, it became clear that the state wasn't backing down. That's just me. They were repositioning, in all honesty. And while we wait for the murder trial to restart in 2027, I want to rewind and look back at the first trial in 2023. Because a lot of people act like that trial didn't matter because of the way that it turned out. But in all honesty, everything that happened in that trial, it counted for something. It did. And today I'm breaking down a few things that stood out in this trial, a few key moments in this trial that stood out the most, moments that still matter and could shape what's gonna happen next. And if you're new here, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, share this video, comment down below. It's T-RaeTv, and over here, I don't give no lies and spin narratives. I just say what I feel. Let's go. YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, has been incarcerated since February 13, 2019. Melly has been locked up for over 6 years, waiting on this second murder trial after the first trial ended in a mistrial. And that's a long time. That's a long time. Some people would consider that to be crazy time, especially if the first trial ended in a mistrial. But with everything that's going on, how long he's been there, this case to me ain't just about guilt or innocence. That's just me. It's gonna boil down to history once it's all said and done. Like, if Melly beats this case, he gonna have one of the biggest comeback stories ever in hip hop history. And that's kind of gonna be like a symbol of beating the system for a rapper. That's gonna symbolize beating the system. But if he's convicted, he becomes the first mainstream rapper facing the death penalty for a double murder. Either way, the rap industry gonna feel it. That just, how I look at certain things. And that's why this case, in all honesty, is gonna never die. It'll never die. That's why people are still arguing in the comments. 8 years later, you still got people saying Free Melly. You got rappers still rapping about it, making reference to the situation, which I don't understand for the life of me, but that still just lets you know to a certain degree how interested people are and how much attention this case has gained over time. During that first trial, the state didn't just bring witnesses. They brought patterns. They showed you certain things. They showed phone data, GPS tracking, text messages, Snapchat videos, forensic analysts, and witnesses who contradicted themselves like crazy. Like, they gave you everything you needed, all the ingredients to basically, convict a person and show that they're guilty of this crime. So when people say that the trial was weak, I don't think the trial was weak. Messy, yeah, for sure. But weak, nah. One of the most underrated moments tied to this first trial didn't even happen in court. It came from a law and crime interview with Fred Perry, a high profile criminal defense attorney out of Philadelphia who represented rappers before in murder cases like this. Rappers like Benny Siegel, Cassidy. So I'm sure when he looked at this, he had a whole bunch of interest in this case, all because of the type of cases he done covered in the past. And he talks about a lot of things that might be a challenge for Melly and his defense. And I want y'all to keep this in mind because as the video goes on, you'll see how open and honest Fred really was back then when it came to what was going on and how things played out in the end. Y'all check this
What are you
out.
thinking of what you're seeing with the evidence in the Melly case?
Well, I think the biggest problem the defense is going to have, from what I've seen with the evidence that has been presented and may be presented in the future, is that there seems to be some type of a cover up initially, creating a fake scene where this incident occurred. I think Melly has said in a statement, or someone has said, that he wasn't in that vehicle when the shooting occurred, and then they find video of him actually leaving the recording studio and getting in that vehicle with the two decedents and the co-defendant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, oftentimes when defendants try to cover up what they've done, it becomes more of a conscious knowledge of guilt, and really assists the prosecution.
When Fred Perry looked at the Melly case, he didn't sound biased. He sounded realistic. And they talked about a lot of key things that were going on at the time pertaining to this case. Things like when Borland arrived to the hospital, because Borland arrived to the hospital with the bodies of Sack and Juvie after they were already dead. And when he arrived, he gave a statement and he told the police that they had been in a drive-by. Well, he had been in a drive-by and had to duck for his life and all this. Y'all seen it or y'all probably heard it on YouTube. And you never see Melly. You never hear him mention Melly at all. But 2 hours before he arrived at the emergency room, you see Melly walking out of the studio with him. So it's like, where is Melly, or where did he go?
Blood spatter. They looked at bullet trajectory to find, where the origin of the initial shots, or the kill shot, so to speak, came from. And it looks like it came from that left side rear seat of the vehicle where where he had gotten into the car. Now, there's no question there's a lot of circumstantial evidence here in this case, and circumstantial evidence alone can lead to a conviction in a murder case, and has done so. And I've handled cases where we had nothing but forensic circumstantial evidence. And the problem from the defense perspective, when you have circumstantial evidence, if you can't present expert testimony to rebut the prosecutor's circumstantial evidence of criminal activity, then you're basically swinging at shadows, because there's nobody to cross-examine. You can't call anybody a liar. So you can only challenge how this evidence was recovered, chain of custody, how it was tested, were those procedures proper. And again, if you don't have your own expert, you're kind of just, chasing wind.
This interview right here, it gives you a better understanding of what the jury will be up against. Like how he talking, it give you a better understanding of what they have to face and just they thought process too. And I like his take, and you'll hear him use terms like common sense as the video go on a couple times in this interview, which is another plus for me, because if you listen to him talk and when he started breaking this stuff down, his take on certain stuff and how he feel. I've been saying the same stuff in my Miller series. Like these videos, I watch these videos and I do my little journalism as I watch it. So it's not me sitting down and I already know some stuff or I'm watching, trying to go back and think and regurgitate what other people say. No, these be my own thoughts. And I've been saying it from the get-go, like some of this stuff, if I was a juror, it'll be common sense. even if I was a watcher, like if I was a person just in the courtroom at the time stuff going on, if I'm the judge, it's like, man, I know these people gotta do their job, but shit, man. Oh, I know it's all left up to the jurors at the end of the day, but this man, he did it. Or if he didn't do it, who did?
They photographed Bortland at the hospital. He claims to have been involved in a drive-by shooting. However, he doesn't have any blood on him. He doesn't have a scratch on him. And I understand that a lot of these shots in the so-called drive-by came from the passenger side. So obviously it would have hit the passengers first. But we've got a vehicle with the back window blown out, windows blown out everywhere, bullet holes riddle the outside of it from the passenger side. Does it seem unrealistic to you that Bortland would show up at the hospital and be photographed and not have a scratch on him after going through such a violent incident?
Bortland ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer. We already know that. How he drove Sack and Juvie to the ER and told the police that this was a drive-by shooting. You just gotta be some special type of fool to just do something like that, especially if you claim you ain't got nothing to do with it or whatever the case. But when investigators actually looked at the scene, everything that Bortland said when he took the body to the hospital and said that he was in a drive-by, whatever the case story gave, it didn't add up no way. The cars were riddled with bullet holes. It was blood everywhere. I'm talking about like the passenger side, it looked like a shootout, like a war zone. But Bortland ain't got no gunshot wound. Nothing, no gunshot wounds, no glass in his skin, no blood on him. He ain't got no injuries at all when he get to the ER. And it ain't no Melly. But like I say, you think about them leaving out of the studio, it's like you don't understand. And then when you see him get to the ER and this car is riddled with bullets, it ain't no glass on him, no blood on him, no nothing. It's like, how is this normal?
It would be completely unreasonable for him to have not a scratch on him when he arrives at the hospital. As you've indicated, it sounds like they've portrayed this violent scene of multiple shots being fired into this car, significant amounts of blood in the car. And you add that, the fact that he has no injuries whatsoever, obviously is problematic for him, but again, may not be so for Melly, but it's certainly problematic for him. And then you take it a step further, and law enforcement actually went to the area where they said this drive-by occurred, and they didn't find any forensic evidence at the scene. They actually found a shell casing inside their car, inside the car where the decedents were actually shot. So I think it's damning evidence.
Police even went back to the location where Bortland said a drive-by happened, and they found no shell casing, no evidence, nothing. Then they find shell casings inside the vehicle. I think like one shell casing in the seat that Melly was supposed to be sitting in. I feel like at that point right there, the drive-by story, once you see the shell casing in the back seat, it started to fall apart. Then it don't make no sense. And if you listen to this Fred Perry dude and him talking to this lady that's interviewing him, he say jurors notice stuff like that because that wasn't just one inconsistency. It was a chain of them throughout this whole entire like trial. And like I say, this is just the third week. So this man just going off of what he done saw as far as the things that the public already knew, like the facts in the case or what was speculated. And he just going off of 3 weeks of trial and already saying the things that he's saying to this lady in his interview. This might be one of the most important witness moments out of the entire trial. And I done 2 or 3 videos on this. I keep saying that because with Felicia Holmes, right after the murders, she voluntarily went to a police and gave a detailed statement. a statement that she didn't have to give. She didn't have to do that. But years later, it's like when she take the stand, she backtracked everything she said. She claimed that she didn't remember certain details, key details. She denied her prior statement that she gave. And you get on the stand and she just appeared nervous and uncomfortable for some reason, for some strange reason. And at one point, they even asked her, like, have you been paid off?
How much money have you gotten from the defendant, Jamal Simmons' manager?
None.
And with regards to that specific statement, Ms. Holmes, you formerly had a credit union account?
I do launch credit union.
Okay. And at Launch Credit Union, you banked there for a number of years?
Many years.
The credit union that you've been at, it's been your account, and I won't put your account number on the record for that reason.
Can I object to this line of questioning based on the court's ruling?
Objection is overruled. Proceed.
So your testimony is that you have never been given money whatsoever.
I've never been given money for personal use.
Okay. So the question is, how much money have you been given by the defendants?
For a vacation for all of us, for him, his wife, and me to pay for it. As far as he gave me $5,000 for Airbnb, in which I gave him $1,000 to deposit that.
Okay. So he did give you money.
Not for personal use.
Okay.
She denied it, but the state introduces messages that raise serious questions. And you could tell she was starting to fold under pressure because when they started asking her about the money, see, people think that tracking his wife was paying Felicia to stay quiet. And that's why when she took the stand, she was like all over the place or acting like she don't remember stuff. She don't remember giving a statement. She ain't honest on this. She don't recall this, that, and third, because they saying that she took some money. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to Fred Perry because he gonna say something real important right here.
Well, when you're selecting jurors in these types of cases, you ask jurors to bring their common sense with them, their life's experiences to size up a witness's credibility. I looked at the testimony. Her credibility was terrible as far as I was concerned. It looked to me like she was just trying to get out of the initial statement that she had made to law enforcement, which was a problem for Melly.
When witnesses change their story like that, jurors don't ignore that. You could think you playing the jurors crazy, but you not. And the state had already proved bribery at that point right there. So her line on the stand just further show the jurors that this lady full of shit. Is a form of fear. It's some type of fear tactic going on with her. Her story inconsistent and is motive.
And it gets back to what I said before. The cover up is the problem. When you start covering up and trying to pay witnesses and have witnesses recant what they said, I think that's going to be a problem.
This was a cover up for sure. And she even said that Melly would pay her to quit her job, but denied saying that as well. So to be honest, I don't think the jurors really just bought none of this, if we being real.
Is it your statement, testimony, that you never stated the promises that were made to us by YNW for me to quit my job and they would take care of us for all lies? They didn't want us talking with prosecutors, but now they've all disappeared. You've never said that before.
I don't understand anything like that.
Objection, Your Honor. Move for
No, if you're a juror and you're seeing what somebody says in an Instagram message based on, versus what she's saying on the stand, am I really to believe that you're lying in an Instagram message?
That's what we asked the jurors to do. Bring your common sense. And that's going to be the prosecution's argument. Why would you lie in an Instagram message? It makes no sense.
Now, this part right here, I never really just, dived into it too much. I kind of looked over it one time when I saw it. I don't know, but because it's interesting. And the context that they gave in court, it seemed like Melly might have premeditated some of this stuff because he was looking for a gun a few days prior to the murders of Sack and Jude. And I know he asked Jamie to buy him a gun, I think, after Sack and Jude got killed. And I think the first time I saw that in court and I was steaming through a video, back then my mind was like, well, if he was looking for a gun after the fact, then is off top, you know he looking for a gun for protection, whether he did something or he didn't. It's just you gotta move like that now because the damage already done. It's hot out here. But when I'm watching this interview right here and they show where he asked some dude in North Carolina for a gun a few days before Sack and Juvie got killed, it's like, what you needed a gun for then?
In North Carolina, getting ready for this show. Obviously, he's taking up a C in North Carolina, replacing it with a big B device.
And then the response from the 5054 bang number.
Says, "Oh, I'm about to head to Gotti's concert at SQL. I was just checking in on you, blood."
Okay. On page 17, October 14th of 2018. Can you read that one and then explain what it's meaning?
9807 number asks, "You know someone selling a glizzy?" Glizzy is a slang term for a Glock.
Okay. Then continuing on to the next page on page 18. What is the 9807 asking at, again, October 14th, 2018?
He again asks, without putting a question mark, but any gun, basically saying, "I'll take any gun."
What y'all think about that, man? Because that was before the murders. And he don't say what type of gun he want. He just say glizzy. But if you from the streets or you know street talk, then you know a glizzy is a Glock. And the interviewer asked Fred if it was incriminating or just a coincidence. Listen to the attorney and what he said about this part.
I think it looks bad for him, but what else is the defense going to argue? They're going to argue that the defense going to say he could have wanted a gun for any number of reasons, for his own protection of his home, of his family, of himself. And then maybe afterwards, when he saw that friends of his, associates of his, were in fact murdered, he wanted to have a gun for his own protection. But I still think it's not a good look for him.
Yeah, it kind of looked like it could possibly be him looking for a gun before the homicides. I think a reasonable juror could see that, looking for a gun to carry out the homicides, and then possibly looking for a replacement afterwards.
Because he got rid of the gun after the shooting. That's the argument.
Exactly. Now, this is my first time ever hearing this interview, but I like this lawyer. And the fact that he just calling it how it is because he ain't got no dog in this fight. He ain't got no client to defend in none of this. So he able to just call it straight up and down. Plus, he from Philly. So when you look at how they was painting the picture, I'm talking about the state. What they were trying to show you back then was that Melly might have planned killing these boys days before they ended up dying. I think that's what they was like trying to show with them text messages. And if that's what they was building, then based on the text messages, that do look a little suspect. You know, they never did find a gun. They never found the weapon. So who to say that this gun that he was asking for, you know, just say if I'm a person that like try to paint narratives and spin stuff, go down rabbit holes with theories and they just say the gun that they didn't find is the gun that he was asking for in these text messages in North Carolina, and that's the gun that might have been. Yeah, I'll get what I'm saying. That just look a little suspect, and considering the fact that they never found it, you really just can't say, that could have been the pistol, that maybe not, but days after the murder, you still was looking for another gun and you were talking to your mom, but this time you made it clear that you didn't want it to be no dirty pistol. You wanted a clean one. But you could tell how he having this conversation right here that you need a gun for your protection. Cause like I said, at first, everything is hot now. It's smoke. And you don't know what side of the smoke you on. Well, you might do know. All I know is you asking your mom for a gun, but now you want to make sure that it's clean. And she just constantly just, I love you, baby. What's going on with the wood and all that? So, man, yeah. Now here's where the shit just get filed, man. Where you be like, yo, these dudes did, they some cold blooded. It's gonna get dark, man. Because even just picture this and just know that somebody went all the way through with going the extra mile to do this. A forensic expert testified, and when she took the stand, she said that some of the gunshot wounds happened after Sack and Juvie were already murdered.
Head was it?
Back to
Back of the head was the fatal injury. Right.
So in this case, that's the fatal injury because the other two, he was dead when they were inflicted.
So this person, when he received the other two injuries, was already deceased.
Correct.
Did not suffer any pain from those two injuries.
He's already dead.
If the fatal shot was the gunshot to the head, and this lady clearly said that on the stand, and these guys had bullets shot into them after they was already gone, that don't sound like a little staging or something going like that's crazy.
Dougal is essentially saying that these victims, at least one of them, was shot after they had already died. This plays into the state's theory that the drive-by never happened, that it was staged. How did you think the ME came across on the stand?
I think the medical examiner came across well and presented, pathological evidence that I think is going to be a problem for the defense because it gets back to what I said before. The strongest argument for the prosecution is the cover-up. This is more evidence of a cover-up after a murder is committed. So I think that's going to be the prosecution's argument.
That's huge, man. That was way back then. And once the drive-by was debunked, what other possibilities are you left with? And if you do got a few to work with, they ain't no good ones. They not good. They ain't no. This is when you start to see the trials kind of like stop being about theories and start being about intent. Because like I say, to just go the extra mile like that, this is when people are starting to panic and they trying to cover some stuff up. And like, am I making sense? Like, hit the like button. Am I making sense? Am I getting through to you? And you could tell what the state was doing. That's what they was like leaning in toward. That's what they were going for, the picture they was trying to paint. And to me, in all honesty, man, it don't matter who defend Melly in this case next go round. It could be Johnny Cochran, Drew Finley. I don't care. It's gonna take one hell of a strategy to beat this shit fast.
If you're the defense in this case, what do you do? I mean, if you are looking at this case and sizing this up, what is your strategy? What is your tactic?
Well, again, you're going to have to combat the circumstantial evidence with your own presentation of expert testimony to raise a reasonable doubt about the DNA, the blood spatter, the trajectory of the shots. And again, you don't have direct evidence of him being in that car because we have it in the beginning of, when he gets in the car, but, a period of time passes before they claim this incident happens, and the three of them get to the hospital. So I think I just continue to make the argument that there's no direct evidence, there's no murder weapon, there's no direct evidence that he's involved in this crime whatsoever. And I think that's what you have to argue, and hopefully you did well with jury selection.
That's fair. But then what? Because you still got some unanswered questions.
How do you explain, though, that Melly gets in the vehicle with his 4 YNW members who are, you know, 2 of them lifelong friends of him, Juvie and Sack Chaser, and then it's 2:19 in the morning. They're all in the vehicle together. There's cell phone evidence showing these people traveling together. And then all of a sudden, 4:35 a.m., Bortland shows up at the hospital with 2 dead young men in the vehicle, and there's no Melly. I mean, don't you think the defense has to explain that to the jury?
You're going to have to explain it. I don't know if you have Melly testify. I don't know that you can do that, because he'd have to take himself out of that car at some point before this incident occurs. But I just think the case is a problem for the defense, a significant problem for the defense. And using a football phrase, sometimes you got to rely on a Hail Mary in these kind of cases, and maybe you deadlock the jury with 1 or 2
I like
jurors.
this interview, man. Yeah, I really do. I like this attorney, this lawyer. This was from 3 years ago on Law and Crime YouTube channel. Y'all can go check that out. And like I said, this dude was giving his take 3 weeks into trial. So it was still a whole bunch of stuff that hadn't even unfolded yet. And I want to make it clear again, because some people might not know this. So to the ones that don't, all of this was going on at the same time as the witness tampering stuff. It just hadn't came to the limelight yet. So Melly at one point in time would probably be going to court or getting ready for trial and sending a kite in the same day, or just left court, going back to his cell, getting ready to send a kite before he go to sleep. All you gotta do is go look at the dates. Go look at my last video, because a lot of people started saying that the reason why he got off in the witness tampering was because the witness tampering charges and what happened with that, when he started tampering with Mariah and communicating with folks on the outside, that wasn't until after he was already it was already considered a mistrial. That ain't true. And you see how way back in 2023 he predicted that the defense would need a Hail Mary. This Fred Perry dude, he predicted that 3 weeks into the trial 3 years ago, when Melly first went to trial for this. And that just was based on what was presented, the stuff that was, I guess, speculated on the street or whatever, or just using common sense. Because like I say, he say that a couple times. And he knew that this wasn't gonna be easy for the defense to just go in there. It wasn't gonna be no cakewalk. It's too much evidence. GPS, cell phone, Snapchat. No explanation as to where this boy went from the time he left the studio to the time his friend pull up at the front door at the emergency room with 2 dead bodies. That man had already said that the jurors it was gonna happen that way, how that was gonna play out, and he said that they were gonna need a Hail Mary, and lo and behold, I'll be damned, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. It's like this man predicted everything, like he saw it. But it's like, it's so much crazy shit to where, like, it's either gonna be a bullshit ending or it's gonna be real justice. It ain't no in between. That's just the way that it was going. And it started off like that when the witnesses started taking the stand. People like Felicia Holmes, who just got up there and played batshit crazy. Like, man, ain't nobody in their right mind thought that when that lady got up there on the stand, that the stuff that she was saying, most of what she was saying, that she didn't remember the statement that she gave years prior. But I say this, mistrials don't erase evidence. And heading into 2027 with a new jury, a smarter prosecution, a more aggressive defense team, and years of lesson learned, it's just gonna be interesting to see how this play out. And I apologize that this video took a minute. It took a couple days. I ain't posting in like a week. My whole house is under the weather. Me, my daughter, my old lady, everybody got sick, so I had to take some time and just tune into the family, give us a little break. But I still got more videos to come. I got 2 more videos that I wrote already. I just gotta record them and set them up into video form. And on my second page, if you seen my post a few days ago, I just posted my second page, just T-Rae. I call that page The Jungle. Over there, I'm gonna talk about a whole bunch of different other things outside of what I would consider over here to be evergreen content, where it takes me days and hours a month at a time to do this type of stuff. I can just go over there and just talk about stuff, just some quick stuff, whether it be rap, news, politics, whatever, because I got more to talk about than just this stuff, just this Melly stuff. So I don't want people to think like just because this is my niche over here and what's working for me right now, like this is my only weapon. I have a lot of stuff to say on a lot of things. So if you're rocking with me on this channel right here, I'll leave the link to my Just T-Rae page, The Jungle, in the description, or I'll put it in the bio. Y'all subscribe to me over there and hit that Instagram up too. Y'all follow me on Instagram. I appreciate the people that's been hitting me up over there, conversating with me, just giving me different insights on stuff that's been going on in Florida since the Melly situation popped off. Kind of got a couple of sources, you know, so I appreciate that. Yeah, man, y'all stay blessed. Y'all be easy. T-RaeTv. I'm out.